not about politics, it's about football.
This is a simple game.
We're going to run the ball, and we're going to pass the ball. He's just going to play football, really.
How good of a football player are you?
I just get it and try to spin it. That's all.
I just love the game.
It really is the best time of the year.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to It's Just Football on a beautiful Monday morning edition of the show. Mike, as always, we got a jam-packed way to start this weekend. Hell of a lot happening week 3. A lot of moving and shaking in the NFL. We're seeing teams climb the ladder a little bit. Some teams fall down the ladder. And, of course, we're going to sit here and talk about it all. How was your weekend, buddy? How was everything?
Great weekend. Great weekend. Good weekend of football. Teams in Notre Dame showed up, okay? The offense came back.
You're wearing the shirt. You're wearing the shirt. You're representing. Yeah. The program is back. I saw you coping hard 2 weeks ago when you were like, hey, I still believe in Marcus Freeman. It takes
That's not
time.
Coping hard.
Rome. Yeah, but you throwing in the line, Rome wasn't built the day. Was Cope. That was Cope.
The offense was shit. The offense was already bad last year.
Come on, it was Cope.
I mean, a little bit was, but they're back. They're back.
People in the production suit, we're sweet. We've got Saab, we got Quinn, we got Stone, and we got Eli. Was Mike's tweet saying that Rome wasn't building the day about Notre Dame, was it coping? This doesn't have to be the question of the day. Was it him coping? Come on.
I just kind of assume that every tweet, unless like specifically stated otherwise, is about Notre Dame if it's coming from Mike's account.
Okay.
So
just cryptic,
sure.
cryptically or not. I think it was Cope. Man. I'm just gonna.
That's fine. I didn't have high expectations of them to begin with. I didn't think they were that great of a team. I honestly thought that it would be worse, like early on, like the Ohio State game would go worse than it did. Like they've exceeded expectations, at least from the defense side.
I gotta give you shit to start the podcast. It's what I gotta do. That's why this show is a lot of fun. But we're talking more than just Notre Dame football, of course. We're talking everything that we saw in the NFL. We got a crystal ball segment on the show today that I'm really looking forward to. Looking forward to getting your guys' thoughts on it as we involve the chat in everything that we do. We're of course sharing the best social clips of the weekend, and boy, we got some good ones to share this week. We've also we're going to be previewing Monday Night Football with John Schmeelk of the New York Giants, so we'll get you guys ready for that game. But Quinn, I'll go back to you to kick us off with a question of the day, as we always have to start the show. What is the question of the day here, my friend? What do you got for us?
Yeah, so Pro Bowl is no more. It's going to become a skills competition. News actually just broke this morning. It's 11 a.m. and it just broke a couple hours ago. So Pro Bowl is out, but skills competition is in, or I guess coming back, because they used to kind of do the skills competition,
right,
like the long throw thing, which was awesome. So that begs the question of the day: will you guys watch this new format, this new skills competition, whatever you want to call it?
Well, so it depends on what the drills are actually going to be, right? Like they do some of that skill stuff already during Pro Bowl week. You know, that viral clip of Lamar Jackson not being able to hit any of the targets that they're throwing into the circles on the wall or whatever, not being able to hit. But I do think if you're creative enough, if you have good enough skills ideas, obviously bringing back longest throw is something I think everyone wants to. They used to have the bench press too. How many reps at 225? Because these guys continue to get stronger. Maybe someone's going to put up some numbers. So that's what I want to see, is bring back like the impressive feats of physical ability, not kind of the 2v2 stuff that we've been seeing of a defender facing a wall and trying to throw it around him. That stuff kind of sucks, in my opinion.
Obviously, we don't want people to get hurt, right? Yes. I mean, like that's what a lot of people are talking about. But I think there comes to a point where it's like, no matter what these guys do, like you can go out and just like throw the football around with your buddies and you can get hurt. Like anytime you walk out your front door, you could get hurt. Shoot, you get hurt slipping in the shower, whatever. Like we've seen NBA, what was it, John Wall? Didn't he like slip downstairs in the shower or something? He like tore his Achilles. Like, so not like making fun of him for it, but like I'm saying, like you can get hurt doing anything. So when it comes to the format of the Pro Bowl, I like this. Make it more fun. The game itself is clearly just, it's a half-assed game. Nobody really cares about it. That's lame. I like the fact that they are getting creative. I'd love to see them do even like more off-the-wall competition stuff. Like it doesn't even have to be wacky football skills competition. Mm-hmm. Have them do like slow-pitch softball games, like have them go 5-on-5 in a paintballing course and have like a paintballing tournament or something. Like, I don't know. I'm all for different types of creativity. I think this is a step in the right direction. I know some people were like, oh, flag football. You remember Robert Edwards, who was the Patriots' former first-round pick, who this actually happened before. He went to the Pro Bowl as a rookie after a phenomenal rookie season, ended up tearing basically every ligament in his knee because they were playing on sand. And so people were like, oh, like what, how, like you get hurt doing that. It's like, okay, well, one, don't play it on sand. Don't ask football players who their bodies aren't used to sand playing on sand. But I don't know, man. I think this is a step in the right direction. I like where they're going with it. I like the creativity. So I'm curious what you guys think. What do you want to see in the Pro Bowl? Do you like that there's no more game? And what would you like to see about it? Are you actually going to watch? What would make you watch the Pro Bowl? As I think probably the way to ask this
Just
question.
don't have them do trick shots with Dude Perfect. Anything besides that, and I'll watch.
I think that's probably going to happen.
But I know.
I'd also love to see longest throw now with like this crop of quarterbacks that we have, like Josh Allen, Justin Herbert,
Tua.
Of course, yeah. This is only a pro Tua show today.
Undefeated, so
he is undefeated, 3-0. Speaking of that, let's get to our first refresh the timeline. It's a good one. It comes from that Dolphins game, and it might be the clip of the year that we saw yesterday. No, it wasn't Tua's comeback from concussion protocol, which we can debate that if we want to. It was more iconic moment. It was the butt punt, baby. You knew that we had to talk about this. It says instant classic on the ticker down there, and that's exactly what it was. Thomas Morstead absolutely blasting the football off the cheeks of Trent Sherfield in special teams. What'd you think about this when it happened?
I was dying laughing. Like, I could not stop laughing because he could not have, like, split his butt cheeks more perfectly. Like, it looked like you could not. It's probably the hardest anyone's taken a football to the ass cheek before in their life because it came out so hot. Like, it came like an inch off his foot. Like, it was like an attempt to literally punt a ball right into his gooch. It was amazing. Obviously, you can laugh about it now as a Dolphin if you're a Dolphins fan because they won the game.
Because they won.
My God, if they didn't win this game after that butt punt, shit was going to hit the fan. They were going to have, that was going to be a meme that was going to go, I mean, it was going to be like Mark Sanchez levels of memes. But now, thankfully, you can look back fondly.
That photo that we have right there, just iconic, unbelievable. Yeah. How he was able to time that. Also,
compressing.
Also, the sound, if you listen to it with sound on, the sound that it makes when it goes off of Morstead's foot and straight off the cheeks, it's the sound that will be resounding that I don't think that I will ever forget. Didn't Tyreek Hill say after the game that Sherfield's gonna catch it next time between his butt cheeks because he's got like strong butt cheeks?
That would be impressive to see. I mean, it was his fault though. Like, he didn't realize that they're in tight quarters and he's backing up like it's any normal punt when the punter's like 5 feet behind him. Yeah, that one was not sure.
I kind of thought it was the punter's fault though.
No. I mean, like, Sherfield has to know, like, your punt protection. You can't go backwards in that scenario. You don't have the space to go backwards.
Yeah, but he can't see behind him, you know?
Yeah.
He's just taking on the guys that are coming on.
He didn't take anyone on, is the thing. He's just kind of...
Yeah, okay, that's fair.
Sure.
I don't know. I was like, if you're the punter, don't you have to, like, rugby it a little bit? Like, just go to the side if you're Morstead?
Well, he's not. You're focusing on the ball. You can't worry about the rush. If you're worrying about the rush or anything in front of you as a punter, you're doing it wrong, probably.
Well, Thomas Morstead's an ass, man. That's all I know. Okay, the next refresh of time we have same game.
Mm-hmm. Great. It's an incredible game.
And it was an incredible game for many reasons. Social reasons were one of them. Ken Dorsey, the offensive coordinator for the Buffalo Bills, has been given a lot of praise over the last couple of games for how well the Bills have been playing. Obviously, a really strong team, really strong start to the season, but things didn't go too well yesterday, and he let the emotions fly a little bit. Thankfully, we now have a broadcast camera in the offensive coordinator's booth, so we were able to see him absolutely lose his shit in the OC booth. Didn't they just get a memo that they couldn't destroy Microsoft services?
Did they? I don't know.
Yeah, because Brady, you remember Brady threw it on the sideline? So the NFL was like, yeah, don't do this anymore. Don't destroy the products that we're giving you.
The third swing down of it is what really gets me. It's because the first two are kind of like baby tosses at the thing. And then he's like, I'm not doing this hard enough. I got to like actually just ram it directly into my desk.
The best part
don't blame him.
The best part for me is the hand. Do you see like the hand?
Is that his hand or someone else's
hand? No,
it's
somebody else's hand. I think it's somebody else's hand.
Someone's like, oh shit, this one's going on TV. The coaching content's been hot. Like, coaching booth content is really hot in the streets right now with Tommy Rees obviously last week, Ken Dorsey this week. I want more of it. Those guys, they're up there playing, glorified Madden, just dialing, marionettes, playing with their puppets up there, calling all these plays, seeing what happens, implementing it. And they can react a little bit stronger than they can do on the football field because they're like amongst company. There's no one. They think it's like a safe space between the coaching staffs there. No, I want that camera in the booth catching these reactions because I think we're going to get more like that. That's good content. That's just objectively, you want to see that. You want to see that if you're a Bills fan too. You want to see the passion for the game like that.
Yeah, a little bit of an old takes exposed because didn't Dorsey just say like not too long ago when somebody asked me, he's like, well, I hope I'm not a psychopath. And there he is just like losing his absolute shit in the booth. So that's kind of coming back to bite him a little bit there.
That's human.
Who's Tommy Rees, right? The offensive coordinator for Notre Dame. Did he just have one where he's just screaming at his quarterback that went viral?
Yeah.
So, yeah. Well, if you just said that, then wasn't paying attention because I'm not paying attention to most of the things that you're saying. Last refresh the timeline that we have here is Eagles wide receivers. Because I love this, man. In college football, I think that we're getting a little bit too carried away with the turnover chains and like the things like that. One, like if they're having fun, who cares? Like do it. I don't care. I'm not trying to like old man yells at cloud about it. But I think that like some of them are crazy because every team wants their own thing that's never been done before. We haven't really seen something like this in the NFL. They don't really do this. But the Eagles, as we saw this weekend, now have a Batman cape. That's A.J. Brown right there who was wearing the Batman cape. Devontae Smith wore it after his touchdown later in the game. And that's because Darius Slay has already nicknamed
because y'all
the
know
wide
y'all
receivers.
seeing with the dark visor, swole, and he just looked like a swole Batman. Y'all cannot tell me he look like a swole Batman. Devontae is a skinny Batman. Quez is a fast Batman. So we got 3 Batmans on the team, but we got one swole, one skinny, one fast. No Robins. We don't got no backups, no Robins. We got no sidekicks. We got nothing but Batmans. You know what I'm saying? They boys fly. Letting it fly.
I kind of love that, Mike.
I was on board with it until he threw Quez Watkins in the mix.
Yeah, but he can't like leave Quez out.
You can leave Quez out of that.
Come on.
We can be real here. We can leave Quez out of the mix with Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown. 2 dudes like that. We don't need to throw Quez Watkins in it to cheapen it. If Quez Watkins putting on the Batman suit against you, you're in trouble. Because if he's going off, you have no chance of stopping the Eagles offense.
Hold on. Quez Watkins ran a 4.35.
He's fast. Yeah.
He's fast.
I'm not saying he's not fast.
He's fast.
But calling him fast Batman is doing a disservice to the real Batman, being A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith.
Real Batman of genius.
And actual Batman.
Nah, come on.
Bruce
I think,
Wayne.
look, they're undefeated. They're feeling good. They're together as the team. You can't let a nickname ruin the chemistry of the team. You got to get Quez Watkins in there. Yeah. What if there's a couple of weeks when teams are just
he
like,
could be Robin.
we're
That's
not
the whole
going
point
to.
of
No,
Robin.
he doesn't want it to be Robin.
I know, but that was the whole point.
He doesn't want it to be Robin.
I understand.
They're trying to manifest here. They're trying to make sure there's no sidekicks, Mike.
Yeah,
no sidekicks for a Super Bowl team.
If you're Jalen Hurts, you better be fucking treating Quez Watkins like Robin. You better not be throwing him targets like he's Batman and expecting to get away with it.
One of these days, Mike.
I'm just saying, he's very.
They're
going
to throw on the bat signal like we were last week, and it's going to be for Quez because AJ's getting doubled, Devontae's getting doubled, and Quez Watkins is sitting there going up against corner number 4, and they're going to need him.
I mean, that's not to say they don't.
And I'm going to be right here on this show when they do.
But again, we're just debating Batman versus
Robin. I know what you're doing. But we got to celebrate when the Eagles are playing well. I love the Batman theme. I really do. I think the cape is awesome. And like I loved when Philly did that with the underdog helmets when they were with the masks when they were underdogs going to their Super Bowl run. Like that was so cool to me. I think that this is a similar thing. It's an outward appreciation and just display of the confidence they have as his team, and it's awesome to watch the Eagles and how well they're playing. So we only highlighted a couple of games with the refresh timeline, so let's throw up the final score for a lot of these games that we had from Week 3's action. Dude, Chiefs dropping it to the Colts? Who saw that one coming? Let me tell you.
Not me.
75% of my survival league didn't.
Yeah.
Because they're out. I picked the Eagles, so I'm bragging, so I'm still happy about it today. Lions with a heartbreaker, 24-28. Probably should have had that one.
That one's brutal. That one's a win. If you're the Lions, you're trying to make this sort of emergence onto the scene.
Yeah.
You got to put those away. The one I'm looking at, though, that statement game in a number of ways for both teams. Jaguars Chargers.
Dude, yes.
28-point blowout. Not that, like that. That is not a unindicative final score. That is how that game went. It was not a competitive football game. Jaguars had anything they wanted offensively. And not only do the Chargers drop this game, drop to 1-2. Now you have Justin Herbert hurt. Now you have Rashawn Slater, who may be out for a while. Now you have Joey Bosa, who goes down that game, may be out for a while. You're all of a sudden not the same team that everyone thought they were picking when they were saying, Chargers might win the AFC West.
Right.
And now it's only 3 games in. You're still 1-2. It's not like you're too far behind the 8 ball, only game out the division. But with those injuries, you're not the same team. And with the starting tackles they're throwing out there, if Rashawn Slater is going to be out for a long time, is scary for this offense that's already playing super tight.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Things could not have gone worse this week for the Chargers.
That was a tough one. I'll mention the Raiders just a little bit. I had so much faith that, well, not so much faith, but I had faith that the Raiders could be more than a middling team this year. I really did. And they're not. They're just not. They're 0-3. They're clearly way behind the 8 ball now. When I saw this matchup against the Titans and the Raiders, I said, okay, this is actually a barometer game. This is going to tell me what the Raiders really are, because I don't have that much faith in the Titans. I think the Titans are a team that are going to play you tight. They're going to play you well, but it's not like it's a team that's going to blow you out. Like, I don't think they're a really good team in that regard. The Raiders should have been able to beat the Titans, and they didn't. Yeah. I just don't have faith in this Raiders team this year. I'm out on them.
It's interesting. Nathaniel Hackett's gotten a ton of flack, rightfully so. Not to say he shouldn't, but they're 2-1. Josh McDaniels not really catching a ton of heat. They're 0-3. They're the only 0-3 team in the NFL. And they're not only 0-3, the teams that they've lost to have not beaten a team not named the Raiders. The teams they've lost to are all 1-2.
Bad, man.
So that's about as bad as it gets from at least that perspective. But you're not pulling yourself up off the floor with this offensive line as is. And I don't know if this offense figures it out in time to really even make a play for a wild card spot. I think it is over.
Last one. Packers-Bucks. Your Packers took the dub. Go ahead.
David Bakhtiari back. That's huge, man. Getting him back. Obviously, they rotated him with Josh Nijman. I didn't realize that every single Bucs wide receiver was going to be out. I thought Julio would at least play.
I did too.
That kind of
I did too.
That helps, when you're down your starting left tackle and top 3 wide receivers. It's going to be difficult. So from a Bucs perspective, you're not worried. That's not like oh my God, the sky is falling on this offense kind of game. It's like no one's going to look good with your backups at all those positions. So obviously the Packers bounce back. This is what it's going to look like for them this year, though. When they win games, it's not going to look like the Packers we've seen of old. It's going to be like grind out, low-scoring games, trusting that Aaron Rodgers, if you need him to make a play, he's going to make the play towards the end of the game. So yeah, I do think kind of everyone, the overreactions after week 1, the Packers sky is falling. It never really was.
Going back to the chat, they're asking about the Eagles, and they're saying, who's Alfred on the team? If there's 3 Batmans, who's Alfred? Somebody else.
Nick Sirianni then?
I guess. I mean, like that'd be the obvious one. Is there a Super Bowl?
Or no, Howie Roseman. Howie Roseman put them all.
Well, that could be. I guess. Yeah. Alfred's like the man in the chair. I don't want to go with Nick Sirianni. I feel like that's too easy. Maybe Roseman is. Yeah. The guy who's orchestrating everything.
What about Jason Kelsey, like the old wily vet? Protecting them.
I see. I like that answer a little bit more.
Yeah.
Oh, somebody said Jalen Rager's Robin. Come on. Come on. Braven said that
Jalen Rager's Cat.
Quez can be night. What'd you say?
I said he's Cat.
He said that Quez can be Nightwing, is what Braven said, if he can't be Batman. I don't know. It seems like the chat's agreeing with you more than they are me, that he should be Robin instead of Batman. I'm caping for Quez Watkins. He's scoring a touchdown next week. That's my bold prediction. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to save it. I'm going to save it for the show on Friday, and for bold predictions, I'm going to be like, Quez Watkins scoring a touchdown. You can tell him I can suck it live on national television while putting on the Batman cape. Let's talk about some crystal ball stuff, though. Let's make some bold predictions. Let's talk about the future here, because we're now 3 weeks into the NFL season. The picture is getting a little bit more clear, but there is plenty of room for projections moving forward, both short and long term, what we think about player performances, what we think about teams, are they making the playoffs, what's going to happen here. So we've got a crystal ball segment, nexpectations, if you will, here on that show. Shout out Dave Salfaro for that word there. Got to give him his credit. Let's start with the Miami Dolphins. When you look into your crystal ball, what do you see with the Miami Dolphins?
I see the team before the team, right? Like no one makes that massive year-on-year jump and then goes straight to the Super Bowl. This is a team that's going to, in my opinion, make the playoffs. Maybe compete in the AFC East. I don't know if they still win the AFC East. But then go out in like a spectacular divisional round kind of game. Like this is what that team feels like. It doesn't feel like oh my God, they made the complete next step into Super Bowl contention. I And I was super high on him before the year. Like, don't get me wrong, I love this team. The win over the Bills is great, but that's just what it kind of feels like at this point. It's just the team before the team, and then they're going to go on to a few years of being in that window.
I do still think the Dolphins are a year away, and I almost put this in our show notes. I do think the Dolphins are probably one more good offseason away from putting a complete team together to where they are realistic Super Bowl contenders, and that is if Tua continues to take steps forward, plays even better than he is this year. Like that I feel like they are within reach to be what it feels like, maybe one step away from being true contenders in the NFL. My crystal ball, though, is I think that Mike Daniels is going to be a Coach of the Year finalist. We talked about it on this show, and the reason why I would love to go even more hot take with it and say, like, oh, yeah, he's going to win Coach of the Year. But the fact of the matter is that are the Dolphins going to win enough games to be the 1 seed? Or for what we see the Eagles are doing, the Eagles' schedule is super easy. So do I feel like with as well as that team is doing, would he win it over Nick Sirianni? No, probably not. So I think that it all depends on where the Eagles are with seeding. But I think no matter what, Dolphins are going to make the playoffs this year. And Mike McDaniel, because of that, is at least going to be in that conversation. I think he's going to be a finalist. He's going to be one of the 3 names that we're talking about at the end of the year. Because what he is doing, dude, make no doubt about it, what they have done already is super impressive. 3-0, Patriots, Bills, Ravens. Those are the 3 wins they have. And they're different wins in different ways. Tyreek Hill had 33 receiving yards yesterday. And they still were able to beat the Bills. They were still able to give them enough fits. Now, the Bills had some injuries, obviously. There were some heat-related injuries, too. So that was tough for them to overcome. I think the Bills are going to be totally fine. But Miami still won that game. They won that game, and they had a lot of really great individual defensive performances, especially down the stretch. Guys like Jalen Phillips, guys like Javon Holland, guys like Xavier Howard, who were making big plays when they needed them most. I think they've got a great identity there. I think that Mike McDaniel is doing a ton with those guys, playing really well, and I think he's a Coach of the Year finalist in the end of it.
Yeah, I mean, no one has a more impressive resume at the moment than Miami Dolphins. They beat the Bills team that was everyone's Super Bowl favorite. Only 1 loss for the Bills. The Ravens team that is 2-1 as well. And a Patriots team that has only lost to the Dolphins and the Ravens. So really no one that they played has lost to anyone outside of a team that they played. So that's a very good starting point. Like I said, like the Eagles compared to them, the other 3-0 team in the NFL right now, it is a little different feel for this Dolphins team just in terms of you feel good about them because they beat pretty much all the other contenders, or not all the other contenders, but they've beat 2 other contenders, serious contenders in the AFC already.
The Dolphins, according to our power rankings, have one of the easier schedules moving forward. And I was like, oh, let me look up who they play next. They've got the Bengals next in Cincinnati. It's like, okay, that's going to be another really great game. That's just Thursday. And then it's Jets, Vikings, Steelers, Lions, Bears, Browns, Texans, Niners. Then you go Chargers, Bills, Packers, Pats, kind of to end the season. But like there's a huge chunk in there where the Dolphins are already 3-0.
Yeah.
They could hit double-digit wins very quickly in this season. Maybe even be the first team to do so. So I think because of that, we're going to get a Mike McDaniel Coach of the Year finalist, and it'll just depend on what seed they are to whether or not he might be the winner there. Let's move on to Lamar Jackson. Ravens quarterback Lamar Jackson playing incredibly well this season. When you look in your crystal ball with Lamar Jackson, what do you see?
I see 2 franchise tags.
Oh, no. Come on. Don't do this.
I just think I see 2 franchise tags his future. It's not, obviously, at this moment, I don't want to take anything away. He's been utterly fantastic through 3 games this season. Truly, like, MVP caliber. And I know where you're going with
Well, yeah, I was going to say, don't steal my point.
But I still don't think it's going to be. I think the Ravens are going to ride this one out. If he's asking for fully guaranteed, Deshaun Watson-esque contract, I think the Ravens are going to ride it out.
If he's going full guarantees, that obviously makes it difficult because we've seen a couple of quarterback contracts already that were not like that. So it seems like the trend would not be to go for what is proving to be an outlier contract. So contract negotiations aside, when I look at my crystal ball, I see MVP Lamar Jackson. I think that he is the front runner for the MVP right now. And the way that he is playing, when you look at that compared to what was his 2019 season, through 3 games, so just the start of the season. Now, of course, like opponents are different, situations are different, but when you just look at how he is playing and the stats that he has less passing yards this year, but he's got more rushing yards. He's got more passing touchdowns. He has 2 more interceptions, but the same amount of turnover-worthy plays. He had 3 to start the year back in 2019. He has 3 this year. Same number of big-time throws. He's got 6 through 3 games like he had in 2019. He's got 8.6 yards per attempt, or he had 8.6 yards per attempt that year, 8.5 this year, has a higher adjusted completion percentage, same exact average depth of target of 11.5 yards in the passing game. Has 2 rushing TDs this year, had 1 rushing TD then, and he had 7 explosive plays through 3 games in both the 2019 season and in this season. He is playing at or above the MVP level that he played at in 2019 this season in 2022. And I think that Lamar, for as well as he is playing and as well as the Ravens look, he looks like that unique kind of a player. And I think the Ravens are going to be a team that, I've said this many times before on this show, are going to compete for that number 1 seed in the AFC. I think they're going to be right there in the end. And I really do believe that a second MVP season is on the way for Lamar Jackson if he keeps up the way that he's playing this year.
Yeah, if he does. The only thing, he's like one Josh Allen throw, though, away from Josh Allen being MVP. Josh Allen makes that throw on the goal line instead of ducking one. To me, Josh Allen would be the front runner at the moment. But I can't disagree with that. He probably is at the moment.
I just feel like the unique talent that Lamar has, and so is, look, when I say that, I don't mean to take away anything to Josh. You're right. Josh Allen had an unbelievable start to the season anyways. Bills are going to be right there. MVP could very well come down to which team's getting the 1 seed. Yeah. Really, it could come down to that, just like it would be Coach of the Year. But when I look at my crystal ball, I think Lamar Jackson's right there. I think we're on our way to another MVP for another phenomenal player. Trevor Lawrence is the next one. When you look in the crystal ball, what do you see with the Jags? You pointed that game out immediately when we did our review. So what do you see with Trevor Lawrence?
Consistency, man, is the biggest thing that you now have what everyone's looking for. You have a quarterback who gives you a floor offensively, because you still look at this roster, especially on the offensive side of the ball. There's a lot of places they can upgrade, especially along this offensive line and in terms of like this receiving core. They could use, an A.J. Brown of the world, like some of these guys, the Tyreek Hill, that these other quarterbacks in this MVP conversation, even Stephon Diggs, are throwing to. Trevor Lawrence is not still. He doesn't have a guy that caliber, even though Christian Kirk's been fantastic out of the slot for them. I wouldn't put him close to that category of a wide receiver, and yet he's still bearing a Colts defense, bearing a Chargers defense that are solid defenses. So Trevor Lawrence, yeah, maybe he's not in that mix just yet, but you already see him being able to give you this consistency that Jags are going to be, basically that was promised for when he was the number 1 overall pick, but Jags are going to be, I don't want to say Super Bowl contenders overnight, but they are not the Jags we've known and quite frankly hated because they've been so bad of late.
My crystal ball is a little bit cloudy here on this one, but my response to this is playoffs? Playoffs here with the Jags, with Trevor Lawrence, with how well they're playing? Look, they're coming out of the gate pretty hot here. Obviously, they're sitting at the very top of the division at a strong 2-1, baby. They have one of the easier schedules in the NFL. When we look at our power rankings after week 3, they have, I believe, a top 10 easiest schedule moving forward throughout the remainder of the season. They have easier schedules than the Colts, than the Titans, than the Texans. I don't think the Texans are going to be that big of a threat to them. I would tell you their biggest threat is the Colts. And the Colts, to be honest, probably shouldn't have won that game against the Chiefs. I mean, it was just blunders from the Chiefs that I think really kept them from winning that game. I don't mean to take anything away from the Colts, but that offensive line still played terribly, especially in the first half. That's not a team that's going to consistently win football games with where they are. So unless we are still seeing drastic changes from the Colts, unless somehow the Titans become a lot more dynamic, the ball bounces their way, it's not like they're running away with it either. Jags are sitting there, and I genuinely think they are going to be in the mix for a playoff spot, because they have a chance to win what is the weakest division in the NFL.
Oh, you got to fix your crystal ball there. My crystal ball is saying they're in the playoffs. This is the best team in the AFC South right now. I don't think that's really a hot take. I think they are. I think every other team is so drastically flawed. And it's because not just Trevor Lawrence. It's defense. The defense for Jags is a different animal than it was last year. I'll praise that number position. Give Devin Lloyd Defensive Rookie of the Year right now, because he's been playing exceptional.
He has been fantastic. All right, maybe I need to move the crystal ball a little bit, like antenna dishes, and see if I can see that playoff picture a little bit clearer. You're going even a little bit bolder than me, but we're on the same track. Last one, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. What does the crystal ball say for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? We touched on it a little bit in the final recap segment, but what do you think?
It says this offense is not going to be the offense we've seen in years past. I don't think even with Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Julio Jones, so now it's going to be better. It's going to look better. But I don't think we're ever going to see that. And it's because of this offensive line. I think losing Ryan Jensen, losing Ali Marpet at left guard. Like, I do think these are big losses that don't just get swept under the rug. It was the fact that they were so dominant in every phase of the offensive football is why they were able to drop back in this deep passing offense as much as they were and not get Tom Brady killed. I don't think that's the case. I don't think it's going to be the case this year at any point, just because of the talent that they do have along that offensive line not being the same. So even when they are at full strength, even when Donovan Smith's back healthy. So that, to me, is what this crystal ball says for the Buccaneers. I'm not sure it matters with the defense. Or it matters too much, but I do worry about the offense.
I'm going full bias on this one. Crystal ball still says NFC Championship game. You cannot judge this Buccaneers offense at all whatsoever. We joked about it. Basically, you could have gone out there and played receivers, it felt like, for the Buccaneers. I'm kidding. Everybody calm down.
Cole Beasley.
I mean, actually, yeah. I mean, you might have
Brady
been able
feels
to.
like he's been throwing to me for 20 years. Did you hear him say that?
Did he really?
About Cole Beasley? Same with me.
I think that the NFC Championship game is still in the Buccaneers' future. I think they're going to get a lot more healthy, and the only one who has anything that might be close to a season-ending injury right now is Ryan Jensen. They still haven't put him on that season-ending IR, so there's a chance that he could come back. So Donovan Smith to get him back, Ryan Jensen to get him back, Chris Godwin, Julio Jones, Mike Evans obviously back from suspension. When you get all of those players back, this offense, dude, the fact that Tom Brady led that Buccaneers team down the field on that final drive to even give them a chance just shows you how incredible Tom still is and how that team is going to be fine once they get their offensive players back. This defense is unbelievable. Yes, they gave up a couple of early scores to the Packers, but then they absolutely clamped down on them for the rest of the game. It's going to be one of the best defenses in the NFL. When I look at the rest of the NFC, there's not a lot of teams that really terrify me. Especially if you're looking at it through a Bucs lens. There are teams that can beat you. It's not like I think they're invincible, but really, Philly?
Yeah.
I mean, that's about it. That's the only one where I'd go, yeah, all right, Philly's probably got them beat at this point in time. But all the other teams, I feel like they can beat.
Green Bay did on Sunday.
They can beat, okay, right. But we've been over this. They're going to get healthier. They're going to get better. I don't think there's really anything to worry about. This is still a potential NFC champion team, and I think that we're going to see them in the NFC championship game in the end once they get all of their actual players back. So that's my take.
Well, yeah, they have the advent of the rest of the NFC, besides the Eagles, really looking wholly beatable at this point. Go out west. The NFC West looks average. A year or two ago, we were thinking, oh my God, is this division going to dominate football for a while? With Kyler coming up, with the 49ers, and Trey Lance, if he emerges, is this going to be, could he even challenge the AFC West, the best division of football? It hasn't lived up to that at all so far this season.
Some crystal ball from everybody else. Somebody says Brady's going to retire mid-season. We don't need to put that energy in the show. We need to redact that, absolutely. Buccaneers are winning the NFC South by default, says Scott. I agree with that. A lot of people liking the Jags. A lot of people agree with us on the Jags segment that they could be right there with it. So I think that definitely makes a lot of sense. There's some people that definitely agreed with you as well from the Lamar Jackson segment. Not ready if he's demanding that fully guaranteed money, not giving him that fully guaranteed money. But BJ saying that the man absolutely deserves the giant bag. I certainly agree with that. And then a lot of people are giving some props to the Dolphins on both sides of the ball. A lot of talent there. They're doing things well, and they're clearly going to be able to compete against the best teams in the AFC, even in the strongest division there. So a lot of great stuff from the chat there. A lot of people saying that the Eagles are still the team to beat in the NFC. I would definitely agree with that. But I do think, because I've just watched a lot of NFL football as you guys have, there are seasons to the season, if you will. There's going to be ups and downs. 4 games from this, it might look very different. 8 games from this, and then certainly in December, that's when it matters most. If you get peak going into the playoffs, getting that momentum, that is definitely what matters most. Well, we got a fun NFC game for the Monday Night Football action today. And we've got somebody, my dear friend, John Schmeelk, on here to talk Giants, Cowboys here with us. John, my friend, thank you so much for joining us. How you doing, buddy?
2 of my favorite PFFers. What's going on, guys?
Oh, man. Just making my heart here full, John. I'm so excited for this game. This is a fun one. Anytime these NFC East teams can match up, that sparks can fly. And some people are looking at the Giants, and they're wondering if they can get more explosiveness from the offense. I think that's what a lot of people are looking for in the early parts of this season. Yes, they are undefeated. They are 2-0, but there still feels like there's a lot of meat on the bone when it comes to the explosiveness of their offense. Is that something that when you look at this team, do they have the makeup to be that? Or are they going to be more of a methodical team? This is just kind of what you've got to accept. This is how they're going to win football games. What do you think about this overall offense so far, 2 games in the season, and then heading into that Dallas game tonight?
Yeah, look, I think, Mike Kafka and Brian Dable would love this team to be more explosive. Look at the 2 offenses they come from. They'd love for them to be a team that is, maximizing those plays of 15-plus yards, 20-plus yards. I'm just not sure they're built like that yet, guys. The weapons outside, unless they can figure out a way to unlock Kenny Golladay, and I do expect him to be a little bit of a bigger part of the offense tonight than he was last week when he only had 2 snaps. Kadarius Toney's doubtful for the game. Last week, their 3 leading receivers in terms of snaps, in terms of healthy players this week, were David Sills, Richie James, and Sterling Shepard. So, they're solid players. They're, Shepard and James are good route runners, but they're not guys that are going to scare you over the top. So I think where you're going to get most of your explosive plays is in the run game, and that's with Saquon Barkley, who looks like his old self. He looks healthy. And I think this is going to be a team that's going to try to win games in the high teens and low 20s. They're going to run the football. They're going to try to get big plays out of Barkley in the run and pass game. And I just think that's how they're built right now. And throw in the fact their interior offensive line has struggled in protection the first couple of weeks. Andrew Thomas has been great at left tackle. Evan Neal's been okay at right tackle. He's had some good moments, some bad, but he's been solid for a rookie especially. But they've had trouble protecting inside. Jeffrey Simmons had a day against them in week 1. And then last week they had some issues inside too. So you put those things together, I'm just not sure right now it's in the cards for an overly explosive type of offensive attack.
Yeah, so I agree with that. When Kadarius Toney is not on the football field, they really do lack that guy. But the thing is, they're not putting Kadarius Toney on the football field, even when he was healthy, almost by choice. Do you have any insight onto what the sort of chasm is there between Toney and the coaching staff, obviously being a former first-rounder and not being able to really see a role in that offense?
Yeah, last week he was around 27 snaps. He kind of split those snaps with Richie James as that third wide receiver inside. And look, he did not have a ton of time on the practice field this summer. He didn't play any preseason games. It's a very complicated offense. So I still think he's working his way into it. And now, of course, he's dealing with a hamstring. He missed practice last week because of a hamstring, but then he played in the game. And now he's probably not going to play this week. He's doubtful. So I think he just needs more reps. And I would think his snap count would have kept ascending if he would have stayed healthy, but now he's set back again. And he was a guy last year, I think he was on the injured list almost every single game last season. So he's a guy that's always had these lower body issues he's having trouble working through. And I think the more he plays, the more snaps he gets, the more comfortable he gets in the offense, the more he'll play. But he simply has not been on the field consistently enough where he's going to be comfortable in the offense. And I think the coaches have the confidence in him to throw him out there for 50, 60 snaps a game.
You talked about Evan Neal. I'd love to hear a little bit more on how he has been playing so far this season, because huge test tonight, right? If you've got to choose to put Micah Parsons against Evan Neal or Andrew Thomas, they're probably going to put him against Evan Neal, so he's probably going to get a lot of action tonight. You said he's been solid, but I'd love to hear just overall, even going back to training camp and the early parts of how he looked in the season, how he has really progressed, and then contrast that and compare it maybe a little bit to Andrew Thomas, who it felt like had a little bit of a slow start to his career, but he's playing really, really well now at left tackle for the Giants.
Yeah, Andrew Thomas, the first 10 games of his rookie year was rough. I mean, he did not play well. Then he had the bye week, and then he came back and he had a good final 6 games, played better last year through an ankle injury, and this year he's playing like a Pro Bowl caliber tackle. And that's how I tried to kind of inform Giant fans going into the season with Evan Neal. Watching him in the summer, I thought he'd have some rough times in pass pro early in the year. Now I think he's been lucky. He didn't have to face Harold Landry in week 1 against Tennessee. So he didn't have a top pass rusher going against him that week. And then for some reason last week, you'd have to, call Carolina and ask why they didn't have Brian Burns rushing the passer more on that side during the game. He actually wasn't coverage a lot. It was confusing to me. He did give up 1 sack to Burns in the game. So, look, he's been good. Once he gets his hands on you, it's hard to get off him because obviously he's a big, strong guy. But we have seen guys disengage, which has been surprising for me. It hasn't been so much guys beating him with speed outside. It's been more counter inside moves. Neal can sometimes get a little top heavy and get off balance, and that you see that on stunts and twists sometimes too. And even in the run game, when I think he gets his pads up over his knees a little bit and he loses his balance going forward. So that's where his issues are right now. He has some balance issues, but for the most part, he's been good. But look, you said it. This week's the week. And even if Parsons isn't there, because as I mentioned, the Giants have had trouble dealing with stunts and twists and some pass pro inside, so maybe Micah Parsons will be used in that a little bit too. Well, then DeMarcus Lawrence is over there. And I know he's off to a slow start. He's still a very good player. So I'm with you. This is going to be Evan Neal's biggest test. And look, he's going to have some rough moments. You know, he's a young tackle. It's not going to be perfect, but this is going to be his first really big test this year to see how he holds up. To your point, if I'm Dallas, I'm attacking the inside of the line. I'm attacking the right side of the Giants line with those stunts, with Micah Parsons, with DeMarcus Lawrence, and you stay away from Andrew Thomas because he's been by far the best piece on that offensive line.
So the Giants, they didn't pick up Daniel Jones' fifth-year option. Do you think this staff, Joe Schoen, now is actually evaluating him as a possible quarterback of the future, or is this kind of just this in-between year that they always knew they were going to have with Jones the year before they don't go out and try to find their quarterback?
No, I think it's both. Look, I think this is the year they knew they had to have, right? And they had no choice. They didn't have the draft high enough pick. They didn't, and it wasn't a good, as you guys well know, it wasn't a good year for quarterbacks in the draft. And they didn't have money in free agency to make a significant move. So they knew they had to run with Daniel this year, but I also think it's an evaluation process. And, talking to Brian Daboll, he's been very happy with the way Daniel Jones has learned the offense. And he's a guy that coaches are going to like because he's going to listen, he's going to take criticism, he's going to work the offense the way the coaches want, and he has arm talent. The question is, can he avoid those catastrophic decisions? He had a pass last week that he threw right to a linebacker, and he happened to drop it, and that could have changed the tenor of the game. He had an interception in week 1 in the end zone throwing to Saquon Barkley. So can he be more consistent and avoid those type of poor plays in the passing game and those bad decisions and play more consistent football? And again, I think he's in a tough spot. We talked about the receivers. He doesn't have a lot of great weapons out there, especially with Tony not there and Kenny Golladay not getting going yet this year. So I don't think you're going to expect explosive numbers from him, but if he can avoid the mistakes, avoid those, negatively graded plays, those turnover-worthy plays, and just run the offense and not make those mistakes, I think right now that's what they're looking for. And then they'll see moving forward. Remember, the Giants are one of 3 teams that don't have a loss yet. You're picking late enough in the draft then to see a short-term deal next year too. So this is going to be a situation where they're going to evaluate the quarterback throughout the year and see where they are at the end of the season.
My last question for you, John. Wink Martindale. A lot of people love to talk about him because he's just got such a fearless approach to playing defense. I remember reading a quote for him where people always talk about defense is the reactionary side of the football, and he's like, nah, screw that. Like, we're going to determine what the offense is doing. That is what he loves to do. But people talked about the personnel that he was left with the Giants. Maybe it doesn't exactly fit what he's going for here. What has it been like so far with him installing what he has wanted to do on defense? Is it ideal right now? We know that he loves to blitz. We know that that's just been an MO of his career. Is he able to do that as much as he's wanted? It's still a top 10 rate, it feels like, so far this season, but does he have the horses to win the race that he wants to go after, I think is my question here. What's it been like with Wink as DC so far?
Yeah, we've still seen our share of cover 1 this year. I think the Giants are actually second only to Dallas in the percentage of times they're playing cover 1 this year. So they're still doing a lot of that. But I've actually been impressed with the way he's mixing in other coverages this year. Cover 0 rate for him is way down compared to what he's done in past years, and I think that's because of the cornerback position. Other than Adoree Jackson, you have a lot of young guys. Darnay Holmes in the slot. Aaron Robinson's still not healthy, so you're going to have either Fabian Moreau or Cordell Flott out there. And I think the Giants have been fortunate the first 2 weeks. They have not played explosive passing offenses in Tennessee and Carolina, so I think they've gotten away with some stuff there. And throw in the fact they've been without their 2 starting edge rushers, right? We even talked about Kayvon Thibodeau or Azeez Ojulari. They haven't played yet this year. I think they're both going to go tonight. That's what it looks like. They're trending in the right direction. So that's a big help with the pass rush. So while he is blitzing and the rate is still higher, it's more 5-man pressures and stuff like that. He did get some free rushers from the DB position late in the game against Carolina that really kind of shut that offense down, late in that game. But no, it's not quite the same because there's not quite as much cover 0, and I do think he's mixing in some more zones to give those cornerbacks some help so you don't get beat over the top. But look, Dallas now in week 3, that's not exactly an explosive offense either with Cooper Rush at quarterback, other than CeeDee Lamb, who are their other receivers. Michael Gallup might be back, but how healthy is he? So I think this is another game where the Giants will bring the heat here. They're going to try to get Dallas into those 2nd and 3rd and longs, but it isn't quite to the level that you're going to remember from Baltimore, especially when it comes to him using cover 0. And I think I've been impressed. That was one of the things I worried about with Wink. Late last year, the Ravens lost all those cornerbacks, right? But they kept doing it. And, Burrow had those 6 touchdown games late in the year, and I was worried about that with this giant cornerback crew, but I think Martindale actually has adjusted a little bit, and he has used less of that 0 coverage to put those corners on islands. And I think it's actually helped the Giants defense earlier in the year.
Love it. John, you're one of the best, man. You're one of the best covering those teams. Giants.com. Everybody go follow him. Schmeelk. It's just I love the Twitter handle too. It's just short, sweet. It's right there. The brand is
not a lot of us out there, Trevor.
Yeah, but still, you claimed it. You got it out there, and I love it, man. You're being you in exactly what you have on Twitter and how you cover the team. It's beautiful to see. John, thank you so much for joining us, man. We really appreciate it.
Thanks, guys. Keep up the great work. Appreciate it.
What do we think about the Giants, Mike? What do you think about Daniel Jones? You brought up kind of like the contract and where they are and sitting in that situation there. You look at him, man, it's just like he's not pushing he's just not that dynamic guy with his arm, especially not this year. The average depth of target, I think, is 31st in the NFL. He doesn't have a big-time throw yet. He's one of only a handful of quarterbacks that don't have a big-time throw yet. I'm just curious. What do you think?
I asked the question because I was curious if there's whispers in the building about, I don't want to say being done with him, but just knowing at this point. Because I think you can know at this point. We're 4 years in to say he's not going to compete. He's not going to turn into Aaron Rodgers tomorrow. He's not going to turn into Patrick Mahomes anytime soon. He just has never, truly, ever been that at any point in his career, and not even had games where he's looked like that. So I think that's the biggest worry to me. And yeah, you do get this year to still evaluate. You never stop evaluating players when they're in the NFL. You never write anyone off. Especially when they're still playing the game of football. But I don't see it really turning around in a meaningful way to say, come next spring, come free agency, come draft, that you don't have a plan that involves not Daniel Jones.
Yeah.
You're going to have a plan that involves someone else as your quarterback next.
Yeah, and like you said, the regime is different, right? It's not the head coach. It's not the general manager who drafted Daniel Jones as highly as they did, which even at the time, before he even played a snap, it was criticized. So it's just hard to. I mean, tonight's game, a primetime game, might go a long way in determining that answer. But I think I'm sitting there right with you. It's hard to think that you can have full faith in Daniel Jones if you're a Giants fan, and even for the people that are in the building. I think that they're probably going to want to change unless we see something drastically different from him. But, John was talking about what they need to do to be explosive, if that's possibly what they are going to do and how they're going to change. So maybe that's what they got to do. I know that on the bottom of the ticker, we teased the show. We said that we were going to do Dogs of the Week, but we are running up against the clock here. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to save Dogs of the Week for tomorrow's segment. It's a little teaser for you guys. We know you love this. We love doing that segment with you guys, and we loved hearing your Dogs of the Week. We loved getting you in on the show and what you guys saw. So we'll give you an extra day. We'll give you Monday Night Football. Maybe your Dog of the Week will come from the Monday Night Football game. We'll give you an extra day to tell us who you really love. We will. Maybe it's Daniel Jones, dog. Maybe we'll get a couple of those tomorrow. But let's get people out of here with some Monday Night Football bets. Let's stick with this Cowboys and Giants game. We're doing all three, as we always do here on a Monday. We're going spread, we're going the total, and we're going one prop bet that we absolutely love. So, believe the spread right now. Giants favored by 1. What do we think on the spread, Mike?
I think the Giants take it. I do believe in Brian Daboll as a head coach. I do believe in Daniel Jones more than I believe in Cooper Rush. And this Cowboys offense is just, I don't believe in this offensive line right now. To be the Cowboys offensive line we've seen of old. I do think they're going to struggle to put points in the scoreboard, truthfully. So that's where I am with this game. Not that the Giants are going to light up the scoreboard, but I just trust them more.
It's toss-up. I went with Dallas. Cooper Rush didn't look abysmal.
Yeah.
So, I think they'll look a little bit better with some healthier receivers.
The team played harder for him, though, according to LaShawn McCoy. They play harder when Cooper Rush is
right,
in there.
that's all I need. That's all I need to go against you here. I'll say the Cowboys. They didn't look as terrible as I thought they were going to be with Cooper Rush in there except for Dak.
Ringing endorsement. They didn't look as terrible as I thought.
They I don't know what else to say. They didn't look as terrible. Look, the over/under on this game the total is 39. Okay,
yeah.
It's not like anybody's going to blow the doors off. When you look at the Giants, they're 2-0. I've said this before on this show, but I don't mean to take anything away. I don't mean to take wins off the board, but give us some gifts of some wins there for them. So I'll take the Cowboys. I'm going to be different than you. Mm-hmm. I'll take the Cowboys here. But what are you going with the over/under?
I went over. I don't feel great about the over, but 39 points. You can fall into 39 points in the NFL.
I'm also going over.
It just feels so low. And these defenses are solid, but they're not like shut down, drag out. Like, you can't move the ball in these defenses sort of. So I just think that's such a low total. I'm going to go over. I don't have any great explanation for you why though that's the case.
Logic. I feel like you're in the NFL. Somebody in the chat, I can't remember exactly who said it, said, this is one of the first games where I'm excited to see the defenses more than the offenses. Come on. That means that we're, I don't know, it's probably going to light the world on fire. Because we're all predicting it to be a defensive slugfest. It means we're all going to be wrong, and the universe is going to laugh at us, and it's going to be like an absolute shootout. It's going to be like 42-40. And so sparks fly. What was the prop bet that you had that you liked?
I have a prop under 8.5 carries for Tony Pollard. He's went 9 carries last week against Cincy, 6 carries week 1 against Tampa Bay.
Okay.
One, I know the Giants' run defense is been kind of average, but I do think they have dudes there that can shut down, at least with this Cowboys offensive line and this version of it. And I just think the Cowboys are going to fall behind. And when you fall behind, you're just not going to rely on the run game. They're going to have to pass to get back into it. So that's why I like the under there. I got
Saquon Barkley under 23.5 receiving yards. We have a tool over at PFF.com, the PFF Green Line tool, and that kind of tells you what you might have the edge on. If there's something that our models and our simulations like better than what the lines currently are. And this was one that stood out to me because we actually like the under a lot. And I was like, the under? I feel like Saquon could get more than 23.5, and he might. But I went back and looked at it, and sure enough, he doesn't get more than 23 receiving yards more often than not. And I thought that was a little shocking to me, but maybe that's why the line is what it is. And I got to assume that's why the value in the money is with him going under. So I'll go under 23.5 receiving yards. Jake Thornton says, I want Barkley to go off. Waited so long to see him healthy in the NFL. I would continue to love to see it. Saquon Barkley is just one of the best talents in this draft, and it sucked to see him hurt over the last couple of years. Chev said that Tony is always hurt. People aren't supposed to bend like Gumby. Knees, hamstrings, ankles, and now he's always hurt.
That's a good take.
But I went back and watched for fun some of those Gators highlights of him. They don't make sense.
Yeah.
They truly do. The body is not supposed to bend like that. He's not.
Yeah.
And now he's always hurt.
There probably is some sort of correlation, though, right? Like putting your knees and ankle tendons under that much stress with what he does probably has something to do with it. I would bet that's a fact.
Alex said,
I'm just saying it to myself, but it's a fact. Yeah, it's a fact.
Firing off some comments in the chat before we get out of here. Alex said, y'all laughed at the Titans getting potentially the number 1 overall pick. Tennessee's bottom 4 in EPA per play. Their only win is Las Vegas, whose other opponents are 0-4 except for Las Vegas, now tied in last with the AFC South. I don't think they're tied for last, are they? Because no. The Texans are 0-2-1. Yeah. So they're not tied for last, but it's not looking great for the Titans. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think they are closer to a top.
They were probably the team I overestimated the most. They're just not good. They're flat out not good, especially on offense. The offense is not built to score points and won't be anytime soon. I just don't see how they do.
Wait, Elliot said the chat's ready to defend our belt. What belt? We won trivia.
Yeah, they got the what'd they get last
week?
Week?
Did they beat us at something?
It was the trivia question of the day. We did a question.
Oh.
Quinn, what was the question of the day?
I can't remember what the question of the day is.
There's a lot of question of the days, man.
I know. What was the one they got
together at this point? We've done a lot of shows. It's only week 3, but we've done a lot of shows.
What was the one they got?
What was the one they got? Because you're right, they got us on it. They got us.
Question. It was like, who was the last? Was it? I don't know. We got the Jameis Winston pick one. Was one of the questions of the day.
No, they did get us on that one.
We didn't. Which one was it?
Elliot, if you're still in the chat, tell us what it is. As I remind people what our question of the day actually was for today, and that was, what do you think about the Pro Bowl? What do you think about the Pro Bowl? What other skills, challenges would you like to see in the Pro Bowl? I got to scroll up. I got to see what the early answers were. You said that you're all for it, right? You said that you're all for it.
I haven't watched a Pro Bowl in a minute, so.
When's the last time you watched the Pro Bowl?
That's a good question.
Like the game.
I've never watched. I can't remember watching a full game. Maybe when I was a kid, I watched a full game.
I think it was probably like 3-4 years ago.
Tuned in.
I tuned it in on a Sunday, and I was just like, I'm eating wings.
For a little bit.
Like,
and then
just
I stopped.
Pro Bowl.
Yeah.
I feel like that's probably the last time. That's probably the last time for me. Felipe said he always just watches the Pro Bowl highlights on YouTube afterwards. Braven said he'll give it a chance. He'll give the Pro Bowl another chance. The Pro Bowl, we could just never quit it. Jesse said eliminate the Pro Bowl altogether. They are? Well, not altogether. They're still making a weekend out of it. It's such a waste of time. Don't need to see Mac Jones somehow get in and miss every accuracy test. Come on. Sports Editor Talk said, I'd rather watch a skills contest than a bad football game. Okay. I think flag football's going to be fun, man. I think it's going to be fun. As long as guys don't get hurt, which I hope they don't get hurt. But Oh, Bonkers asked if the players will opt out of the Pro Bowl. Well, I mean, like it happens all the time, you know?
Probably like the flag game if you're asked to play in that.
Maybe, yeah.
But I think it's just going to be more of like an exhibition, right? Like you're not putting offensive linemen out in a flag game.
We'll
Maybe
have
you
to,
are for like one play to throw to them and everyone laughs and haha, it's a fat guy catching a touchdown.
Captain Spock said, I watched the Pro Bowl once. It was back in the 70s.
I kind of want to go back and watch old Pro Bowls to see if they were like hitting back then. Because I've only known like the very toned down version where like they'll blow the whistle when a guy hasn't even like gotten tackled yet because they know.
Right.
So.
Oh, there we go. Seems like y'all are probably in the same boat as us, that you'll give it a chance, you give the Pro Bowl a chance. You don't want it to be the same thing that it has been in the past. I totally agree, but blank slate, blank canvas, you can paint whatever you want here. It seems like the NFL is really open to it, which is really just what we wanted. We want a fun weekend out of it. We want to see the athletes do some fun stuff. And I know people like going to the event to meet the athletes and get some autographs and things like that. So, you know, do what the people actually want. And I think that the players will probably want that too. Don't have to suit up, and they can have the freedom to do whatever they want there. Appreciate everybody watching the show. It's a really fun way to kick off Monday. I'm sorry that we did not get to Dogs of the Week, but we promise we will get to it tomorrow. Like I said, this gives you guys an opportunity to go back, watch some extra films, some highlights, look at some stats, and bring to the table tomorrow your Dogs of the Week. We're giving you an extra 24 hours, which means y'all got to be on top of it. Bring us who you think was your Dog of the Week. It's a segment that we're going to award every single week here. And so we'll get to it tomorrow. We promise we're going to have a lot more fun after Monday Night Football. I'm Trevor. That's Mike. For everybody in the production suite, thank you guys so much for watching. We will see you tomorrow after Monday Night Football. Enjoy it. This has been It's Just Football.
It's not about politics, it's about football.
This is a simple game.
We're going to run the ball, and we're going to pass the ball. He's just going to play football, really.
How good of a football player are you?
Not just get in and try to spin it. That's all.
I just love the game. It really is the best time of the year.